Welcome everyone. This is episode 4 of Beers, Bros, and Biz. We've skipped a couple weeks due to some scheduling conflicts and just the boys being really busy with exams. But we're back with episode 4.
I got
like, what kind of beer you got there, Alvin? That looks
the local Kona.
Local?
Yeah, local Hawaiian fresh import.
nice.
Yeah.
Actually,
Nice.
locally
What you got there,
imported.
Roy?
Stouda Helles Bierchen,
Beer chin.
the most premium beer of Essen.
Is this Bierchen or Bitchin?
Bitchin beer.
Oh,
What you got
It's
there,
like-
Sharon? You look
I
like
just
you
woke
that
up,
is Kahlua.
coffee
Kahlua and coffee.
with the Munich in a Munich mug.
I think you mean Munchin.
Yeah, exactly what I mean.
Yeah, I didn't know we were doing Kahlua Bros and Biz.
Yeah. So
We
yeah, I
got-
have,
we-
I have a local as well. This is from Taxman Brewery here in
Oh, nice.
kind of Indiana, local into Columbus, Indiana area, or Indiana.
Roy, there are 3 Kahluas in this call every week. I don't know what you're talking about.
So let's start off with the cheers, boys.
You make me feel like an outcast.
It's been a minute. Cheers.
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 Hope you guys are having a good Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was just handed a beer as
Fire
well.
Stone.
There you go. Proper. Okay.
Damn.
Oh, where's the mule?
Her name's
The one that
The what?
where's the mule that handed you the beer?
Hey,
Damn.
it's magic. It was just sitting here, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got my daughter trained as well.
Oh,
You're trained to chew leaves, bring beer.
Yeah, well, she's I don't know. We'll
has
have
that
to
always been
teach
your
on
option?
the
Because you usually have the Zoom background or your pronoun.
me.
Yeah.
This
what
is
your
actually
option
this is
usually
Mariah's room. Yeah.
Dang,
So
it's-
it also helps not seeing the mess behind. So
Good. Well,
Yeah, sure.
let's get to it. It's a little bit of a slowdown week for our 2 MBA boys. They've been pretty busy with exams.
speak for
And-
yourself. It's a pickup week for me.
It's a pickup week. It looks like they got like maybe a day off or maybe some
Yeah.
a little bit of a break, but we can't wait to hear all about how exams went. Sharon, do you want to kind of get going? How were your exams?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, the Berkeley MBA is known to be like the hardest exams in the US. So
Really?
I think I was able to give it a good shot.
Good.
Roy, do you recall your testing? How was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while, like 2 years, but I think it was like some of the hardest exams ever taken. Like I compare them to the engineering undergrad, and I think I saw on a list like the top 10 most challenging MBA exams, and it was just up there, I think just behind Berkeley, actually, at number 2 spot.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think UVA takes 3rd. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Hey,
What's the most challenging?
Did you guys plan that?
Yeah, we did.
When?
when we were all on the call an hour ago,
Oh
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
trying so hard not to laugh.
Yeah. Sharon correct a smile. I was like, yeah, it sounds like something that I said, and then Roy said it, and I'm like, INSEAD for sure is not hard at all. So
Oh, damn.
yeah. And I'm like, I know Sharon's dumb, but I didn't know he think that exam was that tough.
So now for reals, Alvin, how was it? How was the exams? And could you
Well,
for the listeners, all 4 listeners, tell us why
For
we're
the-
roasting you and what your comment on?
For the toughest MBA program in the country, it was all right. Actually, it wasn't unfair.
Okay.
It was. I was scared going into it, but I think it was mostly nerves and that whatever they primed us well. So they didn't try to trick us, but inherently there was some like trickiness to it, you know. So if you were well prepared, you would have breezed through it. And I found it a little challenging here and there. I think ironically, it was a 4-hour and 50-minute exam, and still I found myself running out of time.
Damn.
Yep.
What
And it comes
so
back
long?
to
You have to read through
Yeah,
all this stuff
yeah.
or the writing.
I think I'll look it up, but the marketing case was like 11 pages long.
To read?
Yeah. and 8 or 11, and one of those things I'm pulling up right now. And finance was not shorter. So I think reading took like every bit of an hour for me.
But Alvin, was it like a time pressure specifically because you're very thorough, or do you think everyone in the class went up against time pressure?
I mean, even if you need to, like, reading,
sorry.
right? Even if you read fast, 11 pages still takes you.
Sorry, I stand corrected. It was 15 pages. 4 of exhibits, 11 of text. But I was thorough because I didn't want to go back in and look for data later, because what we have to do is we have to read the case, come up, figure out where we stand, do like an hour and a half quant like analysis, and then write the paper, right? So like I followed that timeline, but I think the paper took longer than the professor predicted. She said in a schedule, leave an hour and a half for it. I left that time and still ran out of time a little. So I spent the right amount of time for the quant analysis, and I did it okay, but we'll see. So that was marketing. Finance was good. At the end, we were supposed to write a memo. That memo, I just ran out of time. So finance I did first, and that was my initial exam, like just my first introduction to business school exams, and it was a rude one. Yeah. And then as the week went by, it was better. I took accounting last because I was dreading it the most. Because multiple choice, and it was just.
You get that option though? You get that option to take the exam whenever you want?
Oh yeah, we should have covered that first. So like we have 5 exams. Exam period starts Wednesday morning, ends Sunday evening, and you just take it in any order you like. Some people did it all in one day. Well, one person did at least. It was 4-hour exams. I do not know how they did it, but I took one a day. Some people did 2 a day and then took 2.5 days. So it really depends on how you like it.
Well, that's nice that you get that window to kind of accommodate your life and your.
Yeah, my brain was mush after once. I didn't want to do more than one a day. Sharon, what was your experience with the toughest MBA? Yeah.
I wasn't the toughest MBA. We were just making fun of you. It was okay. I think the way our professors had set it up was like any normal exam. We didn't have cases. We had one of the exams had like an excerpt from a case you had to read and make some conclusions based on that. But overall, it was a pretty straightforward exam. I only had 3 final exams. 2 of them, the other class that I had that didn't have a final exam, we just had to present a speech towards the end. The exams that I took, some of them, they were just 2 hours long, and we didn't have a week, but we would have a 24-hour window. So an exam would open up at midnight Thursday and end at like 11:59 the same day. So you chose whatever 2 hours you wanted to take, but once you started, you had to finish in 2 hours.
Right.
It was pretty straightforward. Like we got to, for my data and decisions class, we worked with actual labor data, like from the Department of Labor, and the professor framed a lot of questions that helped us, analyze a lot of biases and a lot of discrimination in salaries, etc., that we were able to actually solve for and prove with our with proof and show that yes, this exists in the actual data. So that was really cool.
How did you 2 think you did? Just from, I don't know if you have results already, or just walking out feeling like, yeah, I nailed it, or just, damn, I barely had enough time to finish. I hope I did well.
So you've heard me say this before. It's above average or below average. I think I did above average on all of them. I just, like the final exam is only part of your grade, right? Participation is a big piece. Quizzes are the big piece. So overall, I think, first of all, grades don't matter in business school. Sharon has told me that multiple times. And it's just hard for me to accept that because we all engineers, we want to strive for the best. But ultimately, you do the best you can, and it's graded on a curve. Professors come out and tell you that.
Well, to my help me understand.
Yeah.
With when you say grades don't matter, but as you're coming on for internships, do they not ask for GPA, or just like, hey, what business school are you in? That's it?
No, it's a good question, Israel. They have a great non-disclosure policy. A lot of these top business schools do, saying that companies are not allowed to ask for your grades.
Okay.
And you're not required to put them on your resume.
Yep. So if anything, I put my GMAT score on my resume, but that's the extent of it. I didn't even put my undergrad or master's in engineering like GPAs in it
And
at
then
all.
I guess we'll get into that's like the second half of what I want to discuss. The first one was just really all around exam week, how you guys handled it, preparing for it. But yeah, we'll get into when you guys are preparing for internships because you were doing that at the same time, right?
Yeah.
You're preparing for exams and also just tidying up the resume and researching companies and just prepare your elevator speech, which I hope you guys have ready because I want to hear them. And
Yeah.
so final kind of thoughts on exam week. Did you feel prepared? Did you think the difficulty was what you expected, less, more or less? And I guess any final thoughts?
Sure, you go first.
You can go first.
Yeah, I think overall I thought I was okay preparedness wise. Like each day, like the night before I wasn't cramming. I did some revision and I like hung out with the girls for a couple hours or an hour before going to bed. And it was the same case every night. Like maybe the most I crammed before the day was accounting because I didn't study accounting at all till the day before, but the rest of the classes I actually did like the cases from previous years, which the professor provided to you, and you work through the analysis together in class, and everyone is like, and they have their review sessions. Your classmates come up with review sessions. So as a class, you're reviewing it together. So from that standpoint, like they want to have the community feel. It's not like they're trying to compete with one another. If everyone succeeds together, that's the kind of the goal, So from that standpoint, the review sessions really helped, and I thought I did okay. Honestly, it wasn't that bad. Yeah.
How was accounting? It's coming from a technical.
Yeah. Honestly, accounting is just a lot of rules and technicalities and nomenclature, which annoyed me more than anything else. The exam was also extra annoying because there was 57 multiple choice questions, and each multiple choice question had like more than 4 choices, right? So you could be up to 7, 8 choices. So if you didn't know what you're talking about, you would make a mistake and choose the wrong answer, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're grounded in the fundamentals, you would be fine. And I think I did okay ultimately. So they're not out there to trick you. They give you a cash flow statement. It's like, which company made profit? It's very relevant to business, right? It's not, they're saying like, why did they choose this number and why is it a positive cash flow? No, nothing like that. It's like very relevant to being a manager or being a businessman in a company.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I did okay too. I did have to do a little bit of cramming, but because for us, like it was not that's the case. And one of the things that the professors expect, like it's 7 weeks. So imagine like learning an entire course in 7 weeks. There's a lot of like small intricate details that get missed. Mm-hmm. So whenever we were doing some sort of exam, there would be a concept that is very applicable or changes the answer completely. So the professor like maybe skimmed over that in class, or you don't know which concept is important or not. So some of the things that I had to do based on like the previous exams, when I would go through, I would say, I don't understand how someone got to this answer. And then they would say, okay, it's because of this reason. I was like, oh, okay, I don't even recall the professor mentioning this. Mm-hmm. But then he did. It was just like briefly glossed over because to them, because they've done this so many times, they don't realize that I have to reinforce this particular thing for them. But overall, I think it was okay. And again, grades don't matter. The seniors will tell you that like constantly. The career resource group will tell you that constantly. They will say, don't worry about it. You're not required to put it on your resume. So just make sure you understand the subject.
And I'm trying to understand the technicalities of it. For grades don't matter, what does it take to fail? Like, how do you just, okay, if you participated and you just got a 0 on your finals.
Yeah. Just don't do the final. You'll fail.
Okay.
Don't do the final. Like honestly, like, go ahead.
I think it's pretty similar at most schools. They're graded on a curve. And the way that it worked at INSEAD was that if you're 3 standard deviations below the curve, you have to take the course again. So that's a pretty big range, right? Most courses, no one fails. But if you have, in a cohort of of like 300, you have a class size between 50 and 70. So the chance of a few people failing each time is significant. So you fail by not participating mostly. If you go to class and then you go to the exam, even if you don't put in a ton of effort, you're going to pass, but you're not going to learn very much. And the thing that you guys were talking about earlier with the internships, you know, and this grade disclosure thing, they have like the dean's list or honors, you know, if you're in the top 10% of your class, and then you would like to put that on your resume because you get a certificate, you know. But as far as besides that, it's more what school did you go to and how do you sell yourself. So that's why you need to spend a lot more time working on your pitch, working on your company research, working on your networking, rather than in the library studying. You want to go to the library study. You know, I crammed for all my exams because I wanted to do well. I wanted to learn the material, but that's less significant than in your undergrad engineering, because it's business, you know. It's not about knowing all the formulas.
Israel, I think I know what you're trying to get at. Like, how do companies know that are you good or a bad student, right? So a lot of times what happens is during the interview, they will test you. Like if you're going for a consulting interview, they will actually test you through a case. So if you manage to scrape by, you will not do well in that interview.
Yeah.
And the second thing about failing is also, at least in my university, if you don't do well, you're put on an academic probation, and then the school will spend some resources trying to get you to get your grades up, like maybe retaking the class or retaking a test. They will try everything, but you have to like pass. If you are like dead set on not passing, like they'll probably kick you out, right?
Yeah.
Think about it, Israel. Like this systems with core curriculum, it's designed for you to keep moving on. If you do not move on, you screw up their flow, right? So they're incentivized to push you through, but at the same time, don't drop the ball. But Roy's 100% right. Like with this classes, if you're paying attention and participating, you're getting the material. Unless you're completely struggling, like, and you're not following class at all, you will get by with at least a pass. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I think the conception, like from an engineer's point of view, is like, oh, everyone passes, it must be really easy because, you know, like in Calc 3, maybe a quarter of the class drops out halfway in, where it doesn't happen in business school. But it's not that it's easy, it's that they design the system so that, like Alvin said, you will be able to keep up even if you struggle, because it's not like every course builds on itself. You need to just get the basics of that material, move on to the next subject, because you're trying to become a generalist, not an expert.
And you have to keep in mind that the university already did the first cut and like let us in. So like these are like the top 10% or top, whatever 20% of the US, you know. Yeah.
And just the last thing on testing. So with these midterms or finals, do you guys have any more for the rest of this term, or done really with testing?
Because they're quarters, these are finals for the quarter. And so like for the semester, we'll have another final at the end of the quarter, next quarter. So like early December for me.
Sure. So the four classes that I took, those are done.
Yep, correct.
Now so this week is career week for me. The following week we'll start with the next quarter, and I have 4 new subjects. So I have finance, I have accounting, I have marketing, and I have ethics.
Okay, awesome. Well, good to hear. It's still a different type of busy that you'll be, but yeah, that was good on exams. Congratulations to you both for. It seems like you passed.
Cheers.
The first.
Well, we'll find out. No, grades are not released yet.
Yeah, we'll follow up if you feel like sharing.
There was a couple people that had to retake financial accounting, and I didn't do great. It was a tough one. So I think Alvin did well though.
Okay, well maybe we'll celebrate. So now moving on with what you guys are working on too is preparation for internship interviews, resume prep. How has that been going? Sharun, you said your career weeks or career. What'd you call it?
Career week. Yeah.
Career week is going on right now. Alvin, is there a similar week?
No, it's been career semester, right? It seems like every day after class they have like info sessions. So Sharun alluded to this earlier about case prep for consulting. So like consulting club puts on these case prep like sessions. So last Friday we had like a 2.5 kind of boot camp about what case prepping is about. They gave us some homework. So I've set up some time with a couple of classmates to go like do a round robin with case prep. And then intensifies. And then these companies itself will come back and give you a kind of a case workshop, So for consulting, that is, like their basic, you have to case prep, because the interviews will be case based, no questions asked about that. But to your immediate question, like each of the different like industries have different recruiting cycles. So consulting is earlier on with investment banking, and then tech is kind of later in the cycle, maybe early next year. And then like we call it GMO, which is general management and operations. That's kind of in between kind of deal. So it really depends on what you're recruiting for. So right now I'm doing consulting, and then I'm also doing GMO and tech, because you ultimately want to diversify your options and secure yourself an internship at the end of the day, right? So you pick the best companies you want to work for and give your best shot.
Okay. And
yeah,
Sharoon, it seems like at your school they focus a certain week or two on that versus, is it the same recruiting cycle?
So excuse me, Alvin mentioned like they have info session throughout the semester. So some of my some companies also do that here, but Career Week is specifically focused where this entire week we'll have all the companies that recruit come on campus. Well, it'll be virtual, and they send us a schedule of, okay, Monday starting at 9 a.m. this company is having an info session here. They're having a networking session at 5:30. So the entire calendar is available, and you can just select what you want to do. And then you can set up one-on-one time with some company if you want. If there's some recruiter who has an open calendar, they're like, hey, I'm talking to 3 students at a time. If you want to talk, select this. For preparation wise, we had a couple of events that the career management group put up. They ask you to bring your resume, and they show. One of the best things that I learned there was there's no resume that fits everybody.
Right.
So you have to craft
for a company.
You have to craft your resume for the company.
Yep.
Second, it also depends on how you want to craft it. Like there are different ways you could do where you're like, I want to highlight these aspects of me, and it's your choice. It doesn't depend on the company. Like you want to say, I'm really technical and I want to showcase that. So our career management group will tell us, okay, this is how you want to craft your resume if that's what you want to put forward. The reason I mentioned that is my previous experience with my other university, the general preparation was, this is the best format to go, and everyone has to have this format. And that was not the answer here. So it was sort of a contrast for me.
So along those lines, I agree with Sharoon that you have to tailor your resume, but I haven't had to, right? Like my resume is pretty, when I say generic, in the sense that it's been kind of going through my experience. And I understand what Sharoon's saying, like, maybe for consulting, you do something else, and tech, you do something else. I haven't had the need to. Maybe you craft your cover letter a little differently. But hell, I've not even made a cover letter.
Do you feel like you have a need to craft your resume to fit a specific company because all the companies you are after are similar? Like you're trying to fit into this.
That's a fair point. Yep. I'm actively recruiting for like consulting companies, and then Microsoft and Google, and I just dropped my resume for Amazon as well, right? Just a lot of these companies they want problem solving. They want, just like engineering background helps. So in that sense, like the resume is pretty similar across the board. Yeah.
So now, how has your resume changed from what you submitted to, I'm assuming the school now, to what you're submitting to companies? Like, what have you had to change aside from education?
Tremendously. I think it's been overhauled. Like Roy helped me review it. And since then, we changed it to the Darden format, right? It's just what the school recommends, right? It's not the right format. It's what all the resumes will look like. And 2, they have resources through different clubs and even the career center just to kind of pick apart your resume and make it better, you know. And while we did it before school, we may not have as much experience in it, but these guys have tons of experience in it and just give you suggestions, you know.
I recall there was one time, I think, Roy, you mentioned something about your resume and, like, I guess resume strategy, where you taken data from people who analyze resumes, where they look at first, right? Like, yeah, just
Yeah.
from a physical, like, you get a piece of paper, where's your eyes going to immediately? What kind of font is it? Is that kind of work already, like, inputted into the Darting format, or?
I wouldn't say, I mean, like they call it the centerfold. I've not done any of this where like the center line of your resume should be like the one that catches the attention. I didn't do any of that, right? I just made it very quantifiable, very succinct. I didn't repeat any buzzwords or reduce any buzzwords where they were not needed. Made it such that it stood out. And it's kind of weird. Sell yourself. Like, we all humble people and we don't like to talk about ourselves, and it's a new world where you have to like brag and talk about yourself, which is kind of weird if you ask me.
Give me one thing you've added that you didn't have before that you have to sell yourself on.
Yeah, so good question. So like I seeked out a stretch assignment in corporate strategy, right? And although they would not just give it out like candy at Cummins, the way it was phrased on my resume, it's like selected for corporate strategy stretch assignment, right? Something to that effect, where it's like, while they might not have necessarily like selected you, it is, you're not lying about it, so to speak, but you're kind of making it rosier. Roy, I saw you shake your head. What were you gonna say, something?
Well, it wasn't on the specific topic about what you were putting in this one bullet point, but I was thinking back to Israel's question about like what grabs your eyes and kind of this formula for how to craft a perfect resume. And Sharon alluded to like no perfect resume, but you know, there's a lot of these tools, because a lot of companies these days that are getting thousands of applicants are using digital screeners before resumes go in front of any human eyes. So there's a lot of tools you can use to make sure that you're putting the right words from the job posting within your CV so that you mirror the requirements for the jobs. And there's even some like CV hacking where, especially if you're applying to a place like Amazon or Google that wants certain type of computer science hard skills, you just make those skills in like a white text and put them in a header or a footer. I've heard people doing that. And of course you want them to be skills you actually have.
Yeah.
But, you know, you want to do anything you can to get your resume to come to the top of the pile, whether it's in a pile that's being digitally checked or visually checked. So, you know, there's a lot of science behind it. And like Alvin was saying, you know, you want to sell yourself. So you want to make things rosy and put the right words there, but you also need to have like the story to back it up when you're asked about it, because the more you exaggerate things and make it sound amazing, the more you can be certain that an interviewer is going to ask you to go into detail on it. And I've had that experience. You know, I've had quite a few interviews with the MBA CV, and yeah, it's a chance for you to sell yourself on paper, and then to go and give that 15-minute backstory behind that one sentence bullet, which really gets you the job. So it's really fun. And I wanted to, if you don't mind, I have a bit of a monologue now.
Yeah.
But going back to this earlier point about whether you tailor your CV for each role, and you know, I've been applying for jobs recently, and I've applied for 14 jobs, and I have 15 CVs that I've created, and they're all very similar. I mean, you know, my work experience is the same, but you know, when you have 7 years work experience and you want to fit it all in one page, I mean, you know, you have 3 years of work that you're putting in 3 sentences. So depending on the type of job, you can grab any 3 sentences from that job and make it sound very different. So if I'm looking at like a business development sales role, I'm going to talk all about NPV, IRR, sales figures, driving market growth, market penetration, even though that role is a customer service engineering role. So, and then if I was applying to a more industry specific, I would throw in things like about failure mode effect analysis, fault tree analysis, you know. So it's just the same exact job using different buzzwords will get you different hits on your resume. So I think it's really an art to it. And if you have a really good resume that you can use generic, I think especially when you're in the internship phase, it's probably a bit different. Whereas if you're going for the full-time phase, they're going to look for really specific skill set.
Absolutely.
That's good input.
And so we have 7.5 minutes left, and I don't know how if Zoom's going to open up, but if with that time remaining, I'd like to just hear basic or your elevator pitches if you have them, just to see where you're at, and maybe further down the line we get to episode 20 or something, and we see how your elevator pitch has changed.
Has improved, yeah.
So let's Alvin, go ahead if you're ready.
Yeah,
Actually, no,
sure. I'll go.
I don't have one because I have to prepare this week. So
well, it doesn't
That's
matter.
a chance,
right now,
bro. Shoot it off the hip.
You get into an elevator with Jeff Bezos. And
You're gonna turn and face the wall.
Yeah,
and try
what are
not
you
to
gonna
breathe
do?
on him.
So Sharoon, you just got into the elevator. You're going to the 10th floor. You have a minute with Jeff Bezos.
So one of the things that like we were informed during our CMG meetings was that you don't want to just go talk to them about, hey, I want an internship, or, so the general elevator pitch for me would revolve around like understanding, like first of all, I would know like what specific job that I'm interested in that they have. So my elevator pitch is mostly going to be around understanding what that job entails and what they do.
Okay, let me set you up in this scenario. They have your resume. You know you're going into interview for this job, and they have like 20 candidates, and they want to take the top 3 just quickly from the hip. How do you, for that position that you're saying? Go ahead and tell us a little bit on your resume right now, your status.
You want me to go first and let Sharoon think a little?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. So I've had to do it a few times, so Sharoon, you can drink a little beer and think about it. So hold your comments till the end. So I'm more casual than I am otherwise, and I'll just spit out what I usually do. So I was born in Malaysia, spent about a decade in Singapore, bounced back and forth because of dad's business. Dreamt on working on engines as a kid, followed my dreams, went to Purdue University in Indiana, got my bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering, got my dream job at Cummins as a service engineer thereafter, spent about 7.5 years as a service engineer, got to launch products, troubleshoot engines, touch customers' lives. Great work, great team. In the most recent role, supporting data centers and their growing diesel generator fleet. 2 things happened in that role. One, Cummins was making a pivot away from diesel engines into electrified products. So the strategy aspect of it really interested me. And I didn't want to be on the implementation side. I want to be on the strategy setting side. And the second thing was I got to interact with these big tech companies on a day-to-day basis, and I truly understood the impact of technology on day-to-day lives, and that really amplified in COVID-19. So I decided to go get my MBA and pivot so I can pivot to a strategy role post-MBA and hopefully support the tech industry thereafter. And from a family standpoint, I've been married for about 5 years, and I have an almost 2-year-old daughter. Yep.
Okay, so that was good. And I when they do elevator pitches, do they like time you? Do they tell you, hey?
No, typically you want to keep it between like 30 to 60 seconds, maybe 90. But honestly, like mine might be on the lengthier side. Yep.
It felt like, I mean, just kind of like machine gun information. You spoke very clearly and I understood everything. Maybe because I already know you and I kind of know what you were doing, but I understood it all. But it just, I guess, seemed like you were just a couple pauses make it a little bit feel less frantic.
Yeah, it was machine gun, and usually like it really depends on the crowd. I kind of massage it. I cut it down based on who I'm with.
Yeah.
And like I really tie in the personal aspect, what it means to me. I followed my dreams. I came from Malaysia. I did everything like I wanted to do, and here I am.
No,
trying to pivot.
I was impressed. You spoke very clearly. You had it all. You didn't stutter thinking like what you were gonna say next. You had it. There was a structure to it, and it was good. It was a lot of information, I guess.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Before we run out of time, Sharoon, any last 30 seconds, quickly?
It just makes it up. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm Sharoon Kumar. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I want to pivot into clean energy. And XYZ company, you're doing great things in the field of renewable energy. I think I would be a great fit in your company because of the skills that I have, and also understanding the business aspect of building a business and scaling it.
So we'll come back next week, and I thank you. Like you said, you haven't prepared for it, but I want to hear. I feel like we forced you to say something just now. But Roy, if you with kind of recently in the market, what has been? Do you prepare something like that? Do you have something?
Yeah, well, I've done plenty of elevators pitches. I think a lot of times, since I wasn't in the COVID era, we would do our pitches. You go to like a networking event, and a recruiter might gather 3 or 4 students around them and give each person 30 seconds. So then you really have the pressure, not just of impressing the recruiter, but also standing out amongst your other classmates.
So
for me, yeah, I would go and stand, because I was trying to go from engineering to energy. So I would go and say, hi, my name's Roy. I worked as a mechanical engineer for 6 years. I'm really good with data analysis and numbers. But at the end of the day, I'm a people person. I'm all about connecting with my colleagues and just connections in general. And I really want to connect into the energy industry because I'm passionate about the future of this business. I think there's a lot of change and a lot of challenges, and those are exactly the type of challenges that get me excited. So I'd love to be a part of what you're doing in your company right now.
Yeah, that's solid. It felt sincere. It felt like I know what your target is or what your goals are, and then I would be interested to learn more. I don't know if it says less than a minute, but
I don't think it's gonna actually end.
I don't think so either. But in case it does, we'll just challenge. If you keep going, we'll just drink again.
Yeah,
last time we get you going, but we'll aim for next week as well. Hopefully, you guys have time and we can.
Yeah. I'm gonna be
on this.
I'm gonna be probably with Jackie next weekend, another MBA.
Oh yeah, it'd be great to get her input too.
Yes, guest lecture.
Yeah, well, we might just cut her out. Say something bogus.
Yeah.
She didn't go to a difficult MBA program, so.
Yeah, what was hers?
On the list.
What school did she go to?
Yeah, ESMT. Yeah, in Berlin.
Okay, cool.
ESMT, European School of Management.
Sounds like STD.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's in Berlin, so it's definitely Berlin.
Yeah, hope we can.
Tell her I said that. Yeah.
I will. Yeah.
Awesome.